Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome to my creepy corner of the internet. I am your host, Jace, and this is Horror in Real Time with Jace, where I read scary horror books, thrillers, etc., and I give in real time, and then I give my spoiler-heavy review of the chapter/chapters that I have read for you in real time, okay? And we are currently reading Victorian Psycho, okay? So, where we left off on chapter 1 is our antagonist, Miss Winifred Noddy. She is at the Enzer house to work for the Pounds, okay? Mr. and Mrs. Pound. She is to be a governess for their children. And I'm going to take it that, again, governess is someone that governs the kids. I don't know why they didn't call it nanny. But she not only takes care of them, she teaches them. So she's instilling all kind of stuff. She's kind of just bringing up the rear and doing the things that the parents don't want to do. But I digress, okay? This is a very affluent couple, Mr. and Mrs. Pounds, okay? Haven't found out what they do yet, but she has gotten dressed and she has went downstairs to go meet with the Pounds, who are her employers. And they're one of those, I said this is like a period piece. So they're sitting at a very long table. So Winifred is at one end and the Pounds at another. And they're asking her questions. How was your trip? How are things? Who's your dad? Who's your mom? What do you like? Etc. And Winifred can see that the table is very long. She's a little sarcastic and they're like, oh, was your trip good? And she was like, no. And she's smiling and they were like, oh, they couldn't hear her. And Mr. Pound's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, like she said, it was a good thing. But so also too, from what I'm taking it as I read Victorian Psycho is that Mrs. Pound is very soft life era. She's kind of like very super soft, kept woman, doesn't speak unless Mr. Pound instructs her to. He finishes her sentences. She's very easy to distract because at one point in one of the paragraphs it said like he's like, oh honey, you got something on your face, and she was like, oh, okay, kind of like squirrel, you know how a dog does. So Winifred is down at the end of this long table talking to her employers, and he's asking her questions, where are you from? And she's like, oh, I am from a place called, I think it's Hereford. Where did she say she was from? Hopfernan. No, Hopefernon. Okay. So apparently Hopefernon is Hopefernon. We're going to go with Hopefernon. So apparently Hopefernon is where Winifred is from. And he's like, so is there a lot to do in Hopefernon? And, and she's like, well, I do a lot of dancing. And Mr. Pound is like, bitch, you for real? Because from my understanding, Hopefernon, y'all done killed a bunch of children. Babies were found dead. Okay. So she was like, no, I'm kidding. Because he was like, bitch, you lying? Are you kidding? He said, do you jest? Which is Victorian era for, bitch, I know you fucking lying. Girl, don't play with me. What? So she's like, yeah, no, it was a joke. Ha 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 ha. Get a sense of humor. And so she's trying to talk about Hope for Non, and Mr. Pound cuts her off like, well, the Enzer house is in charge of, was it Grimwald? What's the name of the place that they're from? So Enzer house is basically Grimwald's. Wolds. Yes. So Enzer house is like the to-do estate of Grimwald's, which they live in. And Grimwald's is a very sturdy village, according to Mr. Pounds. Winifred is just sitting there, just observing and just kind of like, yeah, these motherfuckers don't know what I got up my sleeve, or should I say up my skirt? Because Mr. Pounds starts talking about phrenology. Now, phrenology, the way Mr. Pounds breaks it down, is that phrenology is when you measure somebody's head and you can tell by the size of their skull if they're smart, how much knowledge they're able to hold and obtain. It's kind of like a indicator of, are you dumb? Are you not? How big is your brain? Look at the big brain on Brad type situation. Also, too, phrenology, as he explains it, phrenology is also how they assess someone's soul along with how smart they are. So phrenology, mental brain power, and how much soul that you have. In the process of him talking about, the science of the mind. In the process of Mr. Pounds talking about phrenology with Winifred, because he's very excited, he's all about it, she kind of goes into herself and she's like, yeah, so while this man is talking about souls, I picture my soul, oozing on up out of my coochie, and it wiggles down my leg and it hits the floor and it scurries, dashes across the carpet of the living room, and it's viscous. So viscous, you know what viscous is. Viscous is very like sticky, like goopy. So her soul is like barley colored, and it's curdled. So kind of like, men excuses here, kind of like a birth plug in my mind when I read the curdled barley colored plug of soul that oozed on up out of Miss Winifred Nadia's coochie and crawled across the living room floor, and then it went up the wall, and then it kind of pressed its featureless face against the window and is now observing the grounds outside. So now her soul, this goopy viscous discharge that has crawled across the living room carpet and up the wall to the window, is now talking to Winifred. Okay, like I said, Winifred Nadi, she cray. Now I'm just getting started. This is only chapter 2, and we got viscous curdles of discharge that we gonna call our soul for Miss Winifred Nadi. And it's like, oh yeah, girl, I like it. I like it here. I can fuck with this. I can get nice and settled. And Winifred is like, yeah, don't worry about it. Little curdled coochie soul. We gonna have a good time in here. Because like I said in chapter 1, I got to kill everybody up in the house, including the dog. Okay. So, so she now has her soul is observing the premises. I take it that this soul of hers is going to have a lot to do with her actions. But yeah, so also too, during the interview or the talking that the Pounds were having with Winifred, Miss Pound is like, oh, please believe me when I don't believe in corporal punishment for my children. Basically, do not spank the kids. And Winifred is like, oh yeah, I guess that's, that wouldn't be a really good idea. And then Winifred says to herself, oh, well, I guess it's against the law to smack a child. Winifred Nadi said, fuck them kids. Oh, Miss Winifred, girl. So, she also was questioned about a father figure, and she said that her father, he was like, oh, Mr. Pound's like, oh yeah, so I hear your father's a clergyman. And Winifred, I guess, is going to get further down into the book, but apparently, her mother, got married to a reverend when she was young, got married to the reverend of their town in, what is that? What's the word I said? Hereford? Hope Fernon. And the reverend, the mother of Winifred, married the reverend in Hope Fernon. And it looks like the reverend got some shit with him because she recalls when she was a little girl that the reverend had her mama in the room on her knees, from what I gathered, basically doing like a mantra, like, yeah, no, we don't want no children. We must not want children. And the reverend's like, no, bitch, you. So she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I must not want. So it looks like Winifred has a little bit of trauma that we have not touched upon yet because we are only on chapter 2. But yeah, so far, Winifred Nadi plans to kill everybody in the house in about 3 months, including the dog. She comes from a place called Hope Fernon where a lot of children have died. The Pounds have her in charge of their children, and this dear madam has a barley colored, viscous, curdled coochie soul that comes up out of her and crawls across living room carpets and climbs up the wall and talks to her. So, yeah, this is going to be a bumpy ride, I'm quite sure. So, we are at the end of chapter 2, and I will see you guys at the next episode where we talk about chapter 3 and 4. Okay, love you. Bye.